There's a few things in life that are certain, death, taxes, needing to pay that, Rockstar delaying games, PlayStation trying another live service game, even though the last 5 didn't do too well. There's a few things we can be sure of. And one of them is Jeff Keighley loving him some Hideo Kojima. He posted, after 20 hours of Death Stranding 2, I can confidently say Hideo Kojima is set to deliver one of the best games of his career. The gameplay ideas from Death Stranding 1 are deeply refined, and Kojima has infused the sequel with huge MGS-like action set pieces that are sure to delight fans. Now, this is kind of like Ronald McDonald saying he likes French fries. No duh, like, this is not a shocker at all. Which is why, like, it's always been funny to me when, like, marketing teams focus on, like, fans of, or like hardcore fans of certain franchises, instead of like the more, middle of the road people to convince. Because, like, if I see that like Skillup is really into Death Stranding. I don't know if he liked the first game, actually, so I'm not sure if that's certain. But like, if I saw that Skillup or Jor or Jake Baldino, if I saw one of those guys was really into Death Stranding 2, that gets me more interested, right? Seeing Jeff Keighley really into it, it's like, oh yeah, I would guess that you love it. Yeah, I could have bet a lot of money that you would love it. But we're gonna look at this because there's a lot of info. There's an old expression, learn to walk new paths in old shoes, and Death Stranding 2 does an incredible job of adding more action and gunplay to the formula while still maintaining and improving upon the innovative delivery strand gameplay from Death Stranding 1. And he shares some little gameplay screenshots of this. Okay. Based on what I played, it's clear this will be a massively epic game in length, scope, and depth. The visual fidelity on a base PS5 is outstanding, and as you'd expect, the cinematics and story sequences are next level. By the way, the game runs at 60 FPS performance and has a 30 FPS quality mode. I played it all in performance, and he shows this. Basically, my understanding is that they brought some people out for a few days to play the game for an extended period of time. So some of them put 20 hours, 30 hours in, and they were just allowed to play a ton of it. And they show little snippets of gameplay like this. At the outset, I think the obvious thing to say is, I think people who like Death Stranding 1 are going to love this. Like, no surprise. There's no shot that they screwed it up so massively that people who like the first game will all of a sudden hate this. I think almost certainly, if you like Death Stranding 1, you will love Death Stranding 2. What was interesting, though, is that Jor Raptor, my, of course, friend, colleague, podcast co-host, he brought something up which I hadn't really considered, and he thought that there's no way in hell that Death Stranding 2 outperforms the first game. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? But he was like, Death Stranding 1 was such a novelty. It was so fresh, so different. It was Kojima's comeback. A lot of people bought it and tried it because they were just curious. They wanted to see what it was like. And he made the argument that a lot of those people fell off of it because it just wasn't for them. Because, I mean, to be fair, Death Stranding is a freaking weird game. Okay, even if you love it, I think we can all agree it's freaking weird, okay?
Okay, but that one's gonna hurt.
It's freaking weird, dude. It's weird as hell. And those people who fell off are not going to come back to Death Stranding 2, which is just Death Stranding 1 on steroids. I think a lot of people like myself, I was primarily frustrated with Death Stranding in the narrative department because I feel like Kojima is a good big idea man, broad strokes, but dialogue, he writes like an elementary schooler and, drowning in Ritalin. It's just largely unlistenable to me. It's really, really difficult for me to get through a 35-minute cutscene from Kojima. It's really, really tough. And hearing that this game is like potentially even longer and bigger, that doesn't necessarily get me more excited. Even as someone, I still go back and I play Death Stranding every once in a while as like a rainy day game. I find it relaxing. And it's funny because some people, they actually really like the story in Death Stranding, but they hate the gameplay, like the UPS delivery man gameplay. I like the gameplay. I don't really like the dialogue, the writing, and that type of thing. Again, broad strokes, big ideas. I like Kojima's stuff. But when it comes to like the dialogue, it's tough. It's really, really tough. And it's funny because some of you have brought this up before. Yeah, he's the George Lucas of video games. And if you're not aware, George Lucas, he historically, like he's not good at dialogue. But he made Star Wars. Like, he knows what he's doing, okay? He knows the big ideas. He's got a very creative mind. He can go crazy and do things that are revolutionary. But when you ask him to write dialogue for normal human beings, he struggles. It's just not what he's good at. And that's okay. Not everybody's good at writing dialogue. That's okay. Not everybody's good at big ideas and broad strokes ideas. That's okay. But my frustration has been that Kojima, since going independent, has just been allowed to go crazy and he has no restraints at all. And I think that actually hurts his games. I think he works better when he has an editor to tell him, no, we're going to cut this cutscene down. We're going to trim this. We're going to trim that. And then people won't fall asleep while listening to this 20-minute diatribe from some lady who's like married to the garbage man. And I don't even remember because it was tough, tough to get through. And I think this whole thing is kind of interesting because there's like Death Stranding 2 is a massive project for them, obviously. I'm excited to try it myself and see what they've got. But I did think it was really interesting that Jor brought up that he didn't think that it was gonna be able to outperform the original because the original was kind of a novelty. It was brand new at the time. It was fresh. A lot of people were just trying it out of curiosity because it was so different and weird. And now everybody kind of knows what they think about Death Stranding. There's no people sitting on the fence being like, oh, I'll see if I'm convinced. I think you either really like Death Stranding and you're into it and you're willing to play another one, or you thought it was miserable. My wife, she watched me play Death Stranding originally back when I was in my college house. And she will see like a screenshot of it when I'm like scrolling X or something, or I'll mention it like it's in the trailer splash reel for some event or something we're watching at the Game Awards or whatever. And she immediately rolls her eyes and she's like, oh, she hates Death Stranding. And she's like a pretty hardcore gamer too. She finds it painfully obtuse and boring and like she hates it. She hates Death Stranding. It's very funny. And you know, but whatever it would have been 7 years ago, she might have been on the fence like, oh, maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll give it a shot. It seems like it could be relaxing. But the more she saw of it, the more she hated it. And so I think there is, to a certain degree, fall off. The industry has grown and expanded for sure. But I am curious to see how this does. That being said, IGN also did the preview, and they have a little 8-minute video cut together with some of their impressions and like ideas and things separate from Jeff. Again, I appreciate Jeff. Jeff Keighley's done a lot of amazing work for the industry. But like, if I want to know how the Buffalo Bills are going to play this season, I'm probably going to go to like the guy that just generally analyzes sports instead of the guy that's painted head to toe in Buffalo Bills, like face paints and attire and stuff. Like, the fans are great. I'm glad they love it. But like, Jeff is a Kojima fan. And so I wouldn't be shocked that he likes Kojima stuff. So I'm interested to hear maybe a more middle of the road take. Let's see.
Nearly 6 years after the release of director Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding,
Shake the baby.
we finally played the sequel,
Wow.
Death Stranding 2, on the beach. While what we've played was not the final version of the game, the playable portions demonstrated a density and completeness you would expect from a final product. Fundamental elements such as movement, dialogue, and presentation are highly integrated, and the intention to expand upon the experience that the first game delivered, no pun intended, was evident throughout. 2019's Death Stranding transcended the framework of ordinary video games
6 years ago. I don't know why I always think that it came out in 2018, but yeah, 2019.
by metaphorically depicting cosmology and even anthropology through the act of delivery.
I want you to listen to that sentence again, okay? Just listen to this again.
2019's Death Stranding transcended the framework of ordinary video games by metaphorically depicting
Okay, it transcended the framework of ordinary video games. It transcended video games as an industry, okay? How?
cosmology and even
By metaphorically depicting cosmology and even anthropology
the act of delivery.
through the act of delivery. So are we just saying stuff now? Huh? Okay, dude, I went to a classical high school where we literally, like, we read Latin, okay? We had to parse it. We had to perform exegesis. If you don't know what that word is, good for you. I like breaking words apart. I like deciphering this stuff. But this is the stupidest way of describing Death Stranding I've ever seen in my life, okay? No, it's not a metaphorical breakdown and analysis of cosmology and anthropology through delivery. You deliver packages and then build things that other players can use, and then other players build things that you can use. I like Death Stranding's gameplay. I enjoy it. It's not the freaking Mona Lisa, okay? It's not this revolutionary thing, okay? It's not the Sistine Chapel. It's okay. It can still be good, but this is like stupid, man. Like, what are we doing? We're just saying stuff now? Okay, cool.
It was a game that challenged the idea of human connection through refreshing gameplay mechanics that fundamentally re-examined the very act of movement.
It re-examined the very act of movement. This is what makes it so freaking difficult to talk about Death Stranding stuff, okay? This is the level of dialogue that we have to engage with. What do you mean it fundamentally re-examined the act of movement? You run and drive places. You know, if we were doing cartwheels, if we moved through cartwheels through the map, that would be re-examined. That would be different. I'd give you that. If we walked like the BTs with just hands, okay, that's different. Let's re-examine movement, come up with a new way of doing it. You run and ride on zip lines, drive motorcycles that clip into rocks constantly and pressing the wrong buttons. You do that stuff. You build a little bridge. You do that. But to pretend like this is some sort of mass, god damn, I'm getting lightheaded. Let's see if we can get through a single sentence more before
To me,
I pause
Death
it.
Stranding was an undeniable masterpiece that
I mean, I can deny it, so I feel like it's kind of an oxymoron to say it's a to me, comma, it's an undeniable masterpiece. To me, personally, I find it objectively fantastic. That doesn't actually make sense. Just saying.
delivered a viscous flow of concepts.
Oh my god! Sorry. I never thought I would see viscous flow of concepts in my life. Okay, we're gonna walk it off while we watch it. Okay, let's do it.
Now that I've played its sequel for more than 30 hours, I'm starting to realize that it may have been only the beginning. Death Stranding 2 On the Beach can be seen as an attempt to take the premises of the first game to the next level. While taking the player on a journey across the border of the United States of America, its symbolic depiction of connection feels more dynamic, yet less certain than its predecessor.
Okay.
What questions will this new journey of legendary delivery man Sam Porter Bridges bring, and how will they be answered?
Okay.
In the first game, Sam reconstructed connections between people while uncovering the truth behind Death Stranding, a mysterious phenomenon that caused disconnection between cities.
Okay.
Through Sam's journey of delivering supplies, players experience movement in a way video games had not offered before, while the story
No, he forgot. He didn't explore movement. It was a, what did he call it? A re-examination or something?
gradually unfolded its views on life, death, and cosmological visions. The setting of Death Stranding 2 moves from the rebuilt UCA to the Mexican border region. The photorealistic graphics that meticulously depict Mexico's desolate land are nothing short of impressive. From the texture of the dried surface to faintly
He just said Mexico's desolate. Cancel him. Lock it in, boys. Damn.
rippling sand dust and rocky mountains in the distance, the game's visuals drew me in right away. Photorealistic modeling and subtle facial expressions of characters have also largely improved from the first game.
Good.
And the art style creates an aesthetic
See, this stuff, this is good. It's beautiful. The fidelity's high. It realistically captures these things, that thing. Cool. We don't have to pretend like Jesus Christ himself painted this game with a paintbrush of magic. Like, we don't need to. But I feel like so often it's impossible to discuss Death Stranding because you're either like you don't like Death Stranding or you're this guy / Jeff and you're just like choking back a viscous flow of whatever he said. Like, it's just total simp or hater. There's apparently no middle ground. It's crazy.
aesthetic that transcends mere realism, forming a powerful foundation supporting the game's surrealistic worldview and story. The part that plays in Mexico functions more or less like a tutorial, not just in terms of gameplay but also story and settings. While the first game overwhelmed players with numerous terms and settings in its early hours, Death Stranding 2 is conscious of being accessible even without prior knowledge. The game also offers a recap mode in novel style, as well as a glossary function called Corpus, showing careful consideration for players who have not played the first game, or those who did but found it too complicated. I feel that the game design of Hideo Kojima's work often comes in 3 layers.
Oh, I bet. His work is like an onion. It's got layers and it's stinky. Sorry. They're going to be in the comments complaining about that. I just want to know, did they fix the vehicles? Because my God, the vehicles in the first game needed some work. They're very frustrating because you could do big deliveries with them, but they'd clip on everything. They were like impossible to actually use. So hopefully they made some improvements there. That's like the #1 thing I'm hoping for is vehicles.
For example, Metal Gear series gameplay consists of infiltration, danger, and stealth.
Okay.
While its movement can be divided into walking, crouching, and crawling.
Is this not true of like many games though? Okay. This is why it's also funny is like you end up just describing like a standard video game, but you're just using 1,000 extra words. And in many ways it becomes analogous to almost like a simile of Kojima, like his work as well, is that sometimes like this could have been an email. This could have been a memo. And I feel like, again, there's parts of Death Stranding that I really like. But then there's a few other layers of nonsense. But if I critique those, I'm a hater.
Nico says things donated $10 through Super Chat. At the end of the day, don't we all come from a viscous flow of concepts?
I think you're right, Nico. Yeah. Really, maybe the point is that we were the viscous flow of concepts all along. But that's the thing is I'm frustrated, Nico, because it feels like discourse around Death Stranding is either you hate the game and you're bashing it and everybody who plays it is a simp and a loser, whatever. We know the types that bash the game like that. Or you're this guy choking back a viscous flow of concepts about the game. And it's fine if you love the game, it's fine. But like to pretend like it's some sort of masterpiece, as he said, to me, it's an undeniable masterpiece, which doesn't even make sense as a sentence. But like, there's no middle ground. So I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills all the time whenever we talk about this. And I kind of went through withdrawal after 6 years.
The same philosophy can also be seen in Death Stranding, where your Odradek scanning device visualizes terrain danger levels in 3 different colors. Death Stranding 2 follows the same rules.
Okay.
Just like in the original Death Stranding, once again the player has to manage cargo.
So far we've said that it is more accessible early in the game, and then the movement terrain analysis is all the same. Okay.
Weight and balance while traversing unstable natural terrain. Footing must be secured on slopes while the center of gravity must be controlled to avoid being swept away in rapid water streams. The risk of cargo damage is present throughout the process, which makes traversing the world itself a nerve-wracking task. Constructions such as ropes and ladders can be...
You just get the repair spray, or you go under one of the little umbrella things and it'll repair the packages. It's really not that big of a deal.
used to traverse the world more convenient. These infrastructures go beyond individual player experiences, as structures installed by other players are shared in the world by the social strands system. As you make use of ladders and bridges left by someone else, the solitary exercise of delivery gradually transforms into a more connected and social experience.
This is also one of the things that's frustrated me, is that this was framed as like this revolutionary thing, but effectively what they did is they built out the same like note system that's been in like Dark Souls games, for example, but they built it out with actual like physical objects in the environment. Because you know how in Dark Souls, like you'll be playing and maybe there's a hidden wall, and it's like you have to attack it and then it clears and there's a hidden treasure back there. So people will leave a note on the ground saying treasure ahead, helping you. Even though you've never met that other player, you never will. Players work together through these notes and stuff in the environment, and it kind of strands together. Like in many ways, those Dark Souls games are the first big Strand type game, but we're supposed to pretend like this is revolutionary because it did it. Like, it's still cool. I like it. It's nice. But again, like it's not some sort of totally like revolutionary thing at the same time, you know? Or they tell you to jump and they troll you. Yeah, they troll you. Treasure ahead as it's off a cliff, and they get people to do that. And then other people go back and upvote that note because they got trolled by it and they want other people to be trolled by it too. Yeah, it's very funny. Tri-finger, yeah.
In addition to highways, Death Stranding 2 allows the player to construct monorails too, which makes traversing its world a lot smoother.
I think this is cool. This is like an evolution of the zipline thing. I always was frustrated that we could do the ziplines, but you couldn't have a ton of cargo like through your, if you're dragging it with the carts behind you. So doing big deliveries into the mountains was always really tough, if not just impossible that way. You had to run it all the way up. But doing monorails, this could be cool.
Highways and monorails require a lot of materials, forcing the player to utilize the game's mines to gather them. As a result, establishing trade routes has become more central to gameplay than it was in the first game. While traversing the world itself has become more convenient, environments have become more challenging in return. The width of rivers can double due to rainfall, and natural hazards such as
See, this is cool. Landslides? That's cool.
earthquakes and sandstorms can occur. As a new feature, the time of day also changes in real time, which causes additional challenges for Sam. These natural elements interfere with player actions in various ways, such as footing collapsing due to flooding and earthquakes, or visibility worsening in sandstorms and nightfall.
I'm guessing it also adds wear and tear to things you've built, so you have to go back and repair them.
The sequel also boasts more room for customization. The Porter grade indicates Sam's current proficiency in a more direct way, while skill points can be used to enhance stats and obtain new abilities. You can specialize in either delivery, movement, or combat skills. This shows that once again, Kojima is utilizing 3 layers of gameplay in which the player can tackle the game's missions and obstacles.
I mean, like he has, it's like a skill tree with 3 branches, so like, sure, but like, you see, it goes back to the layers, the brilliant, man, oh God.
While delivery, movement, and combat skills can all be customized, combat plays a greater role in Death Stranding 2. In the first game, combat was limited and functioned merely as a way to secure supplies or to make your way through bases. Death Stranding Director's Cut already added infiltration missions into mule bases, but Death Stranding 2 builds more varied stages and systemized combat in the open world, seemingly as an extension of that.
Well, it was always really dissonant because they're like, you can't kill people, otherwise it causes like the, BT event or whatever they called them. So you can't kill people, otherwise it can screw everything up. So it's all non-lethal stuff, but then they're also trying to kill you. So it was always just kind of this weird dissonant thing. And I'm not sure if they've actually changed it here or if it's still just non-lethal stuff and that's all we're doing, but I don't know.
New human enemy forces such as bandits and armed survivalists appear, and their bases are designed as stages with simple 3-dimensional structures.
3! He said 3 again! Void outs, that's the term for it.
BTs,
Thank
or
you.
creatures that appear due to the Death Stranding phenomenon, also have new types. Larger BTs with stronger attacks make the combat more challenging than it was in the first game. Combat has become more tactical as well. By throwing a speaking doll called Dollman, you can observe the
That I was about to jokingly say, what's his name? Dollman? And I was joking. I was going to be joking about that. But his name is Dollman. We'll call him Dollman and he'll hang out with Footboy. And then they'll all work together and talk to Goo Guy. And they'll go and they'll take out the Death Stranding where they'll meet John Death and David Stranding. And they'll fight each other while talking to Troy Baker, play a guitar. And then babies will be there. Like, dude, oh my God.
insides of bases from above to
Viscous
grasp enemy
man.
placement and movement lines. While close combat remains important, remote stealth attacks with the blood boomerang,
Oh, you can use them. Cool.
precision shooting with sniper rifles, and utilizing assault rifles and grenade launchers give the player a multitude of new options. It's even possible to put down Sam's backpack, allowing for more agile and nimble movement by completely separating him from his car.
That is a good addition. I like that a lot. Because nothing felt more stupid than being in a big enemy camp and then like trying to stealth behind like a little bitty, it's like this big. You're trying to stealth behind it. And then you have a giant stack of crates going 5 feet above it. It always looks so stupid. But now you can take it off. That's good.
Cargo. Weight management directly connects to mobility, which greatly enhances tactical flexibility.
Like layers. like 3 layers.
Whether to engage in direct combat, choose stealth, or avoid combat altogether, freedom of approach has increased when compared to the first game. You can even refund your used skill points, welcoming trial and error to find the playstyle that suits you best. As partially revealed in trailers, after a series of dramatic events, Sam will cooperate with Drawbridge, a civilian company established by Fragile. As the setting moves from Mexico to Australia, a new journey begins. A mobile base called DHV Magellan.
Thank you, Chuck.
Chuck Gerbil donated $10 through Super Chat. I am genuinely curious about the possibility of this game selling well or not, especially now that the general public has already seen the gameplay formula from the first game.
I mean, what I will give Jor is that he's always really on it with these things. Like Jor he gets it. Okay. Jor, we do these predictions, like Metacritic predictions on the podcast, and we also guess sale numbers and stuff. And he's always very, very close. So I think if you do break it down and you try to just look at it as like objectively as possible, if there is a certain number of people, like, you know, this was back in let's say 20, well, I'll do it this way. We'll say back in 19, okay, versus in 25. There's like the hardcore people that were going to buy Death Stranding regardless because they love Kojima stuff. The Jeff Keighley types, okay? They're here. Those people were going to buy it no matter what. And they certainly are still here in 2025. They've not gone anywhere. They're still very much into it. And maybe it's grown even slightly. You could say even, you know, they gained some new fans in this. But then there were the people that were curious. And those people maybe represented a big chunk here where they were just like, I wonder what Death Stranding even is. There's going to be some of those over here in 2025, but Death Stranding is no longer an unknown quantity. We know what it is. You know what the game is. And if you want to try the first game, you can try that, see what you think of it. It's not a mystery. So I think there will be some curious people, but I think it's less than this. And then there were people who I think, like 2019 was also a really hollow year. People forget, but like you had Death Stranding, you had what, Days Gone? What else was 2019? Sekiro came, was that the fall or was that summer? I think Sekiro was the other big one. But we had like probably three or four pretty sizable games, but that's about it. So I think you could say maybe you had like the board players who just wanted something else to play. And I think Jor's point, and the one that I find, you know, interesting and potentially compelling, is that there's a good chunk of these people, I think, who are not going to come back because there's enough games already that I think the people who are just like burned out, you know, and they just have huge back catalogs, they're busy. So I think some of the orange goes away. I think some of the yellow, the people who are curious, they fall off too, because I think that you know what the game is. It's going to be more Death Stranding, which is okay. Again, I liked Death Stranding. Like you watch this video right now, this stream clip or whatever, and you're probably like, wow, Luke hates Death Stranding too. No, I like Death Stranding. I play it like as a good relaxing game, dude. I like it. But it's not perfect. It's got huge problems, and it seems like this game is doubling down on all of them. Okay? And part of the reason that they do that, and that Kojima does that, is because people that are his diehard fans act like everything he does is stunning, brave, and beautiful. And I think that doesn't help him make better games. I just don't see it. And hearing that it's going to be longer and bigger and girthier, I just don't know if that's the best thing for this game.
Named after the explorer Ferdinand Magellan, who traveled around the world, functions as a hub for the player. As the name DHV Magellan suggests, the story steps into themes reminiscent of colonial domination. Furthermore, the rise of a private political organization called APAC shows similarities with the PMC depicted in Metal Gear Solid 4. Since I haven't witnessed the story to its conclusion, it is too early to speculate on how these motifs will come to fruition in the full game. In Death Stranding, people were isolated and only porters traversed the dangerous outside world, which many noted seemed to foresee the COVID-19 pandemic. In Death Stranding 2, the APAC...
So he's a prophet now. He's a prophet. I do remember people saying this back in like 2020, like Kojima predicted the COVID pandemic. I'm like, Where are the babies in tanks? Where's the black tar monsters? Where, like what? I don't see it.
seems to resonate with recent movements of America's Doge. With such eerie
Hold
points
on,
of
what?
convergence, which many noted seemed to foresee the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
In Death Stranding 2, the APAC seems to resonate with recent movements of America's Doge. With such eerie points of convergence with reality, I can't help but feel that there is a significance worth noting in contemporary times regarding how connections will be redefined in Death Stranding 2. Of particular note is the presence of actor Luca Marinelli, who plays a mysterious man. Both Marinelli's acting ability and the presentation of scenes he appears in leave a strong impression. The mystery of who this man is and why he stands in Sam's way will have players speculating for sure. Marinelli and
For sure. It's already happening, I can tell.
his character are just as captivating as Mads Mikkelsen's Cliff was in the first game. One concern I had during my 30 hours with the game was that I realized that the trailers contain content that delves quite deeply into the main story, to the extent that a lot of what happened throughout the game I was already somewhat aware of. Could it be that too much has been given away in the trailers? Or is there a big surprise awaiting players when Death Stranding 2's full picture is revealed? We can only eagerly await the game's June 26th release.
I think this video is also a great indication of why you just have to be aware of how these companies select who goes to events like this, okay? Because when a game is reviewed, like people will look at it and be like, oh, Death Stranding got a 10 out of 10 from this outlet or whatever. Oblivion remake or remaster got a 10 out of 10 from this group or that group, whatever. Typically how these companies do it is that they have 5 people who work for them that are reviewing games. And the editor-in-chief will pick who gets assigned to that game based on their prior experience. So if you play a lot of Mario games, they'll probably assign you to review Mario Kart. If you play a lot of simulation games, they'll probably assign you to review the next Anno game or Civ 7 or whatever. And if you like Kojima games and you play a lot of Kojima's games, they'll assign you to go to the preview event and cover Death Stranding 2. So when you see an outlet do coverage that's really, really positive on a given game, you just have to remember that the people they've assigned to do that coverage almost always start as like fans of that type of game. So if they're doing a preview for Marathon, it's because they're fans of Extraction games. If they're doing a preview or a review for Death Stranding, it's because they're fans of games like this or of this franchise, what have you. Which is why sometimes the reactions can start inflated before you get to like the broader public and critical reception, which is more generalized, you know. And so it's why you got to watch it, you got to listen to it, you got to read it, but you also have to just remember that like if a company or if a reviewer gives it 10 out of 10, it's a 10 out of 10 for fans of that game. You know, and I think for people who are really into Death Stranding 1 and love Kojima's stuff, they probably are going to also love this. Like I said at the top, you know, they will have viscous flows of concepts spilling out of them, I'm sure. But yeah, here.
Undeniable masterpiece that delivered a viscous flow of concepts.
What a stupid thing to say. I'm sorry. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. I'm sorry. I need a tattoo of that. Anyway, so I think that people who really like the first game will like this, I'm sure. But those are not the people they need to convince, okay? Because there were a lot of people who tried Death Stranding 1 and didn't love it. There were a lot of people who were interested who fell off of it pretty quick. And I don't see anything in here that's going to make those people come back, which it might not need that to happen. I mean, I don't think it necessarily needs that to happen, but I'm seeing stuff that I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but I'm not seeing anything that really blows my socks off or anything. Shinobi did this collection of hands-on details. Press got to play a whopping 30 hours of the game. That's roughly 40% of the story, says Kojima. Tighter, pacier, whatever the hell that means. More dynamic and more gripping. Okay. 4 difficulty settings: story, casual, normal, and brutal. Played on base PS5. Yeah, good graphics, fantastically surreal boss fights. Takes 11 months after the first game. After connecting America to the chiral network, deliveries now automated by AI. Okay. His peaceful life is disrupted by the return of Fragile, who now runs a company called Drawbridge, who sends Sam on a mission to connect Mexico to the network and then to Australia. Okay. Pacing is improved over the first game, swiftly gets players into gameplay. That's good. I'm wondering if that just means shorter cutscenes or fewer. That to me is a good improvement. That could help a lot. Corpus in-game glossary, similar to Final Fantasy 16, can be opened at any time, including mid-cutscene to recap, explain plot points, characters, places. That's good. This is a good improvement and change. Expanding gameplay systems was a major focus. World feels more dynamic and diverse with opportunities for player expression. Player expression, that's such a meaningless term, but seeing things like the mudslides, flooding, sandstorms, that stuff is really cool. Still focused on taking cross-country delivery jobs through hostile landscapes, but much more evolved, like going from MGS1 to MGS2. Okay. More streamlined menus, clear info on your objective, equipment. Yeah, I mean, the UI wasn't great in the first one. Combat now plays a greater role. Kojima added more options because so many people all over the world were asking him to make another Metal Gear. So this is also one of the other things, is that a lot of people feel like this is just going to be Death Stranding / Metal Gear crossover. It might. I don't know, but maybe. Roundtable conference. This guy was so desperate to use his writing degree when he saw a Kojima game. He said, finally, my chance. Thank you for the 3 months. Or he just had thesaurus.com opened up. You know, maybe that's what it is. Or what? I wonder if we could do this. Hold on. What did you say? A viscous flow of concepts. Can you describe Death Stranding in the most obnoxious and holier than thou way possible, using the biggest words you can to sound super duper smart? Oh my God, dude. Death Stranding, an opus of unparalleled profundity, emerges as a transcendent artifact from the visionary crucible of Hideo Kojima's intellect, meticulously engineered to subvert pedestrian gaming paradigms. Dude, this isn't even that far off. It's pretty close. This magnum opus constitutes an intricate tapestry of ludonarrative symbiosis wherein players, as the intrepid Sam Porter Bridges, navigate a post-apocalyptic topography suffused with ontological enigmas and metaphysical gravitas. The game's esoteric mechanics, centered on asynchronous multiplayer connectivity and the Sisyphean labor of parcel delivery, elucidate a dialectical synthesis of isolation and interdependence, compelling participants to forge ephemeral alliances across a fractured cosmos. Dude. Oh my God. It's pretty damn close, man. It's pretty close. That's ridiculous. That's unbelievable. Jacob, make sure to keep this in the clip. That's freaking funny as hell. Oh my God. Oh, I'm going to die. Whew, that's funny. Okay. Yeah, asynchronous online connectivity expanded with more structures like zip lines that now curve, safe houses for checkpoints, ramps that can shoot Sam across the air like Sonic. You can level up your abilities like stamina, weapons, better stealth, stuff like that. Customize your backpack with attachments like ammo pouches, shields, and more. You can customize vehicles like adding an arm to the truck that will automatically grab lost packages, machine guns to auto shoot enemies. Lots of new options, encourage experimenting your approach, like finding extra tools, like powerful gloves that let you punch mechs in the face, or an otter hat to float in the water. Significant number of side quests with meaningful rewards, special weapon schematics, narrative payoffs, skill points to unlock footstep dampeners, aim assistance, vehicle recharger. I mean, again, it seems like more Death Stranding. Like, I'm sure is good if you love the first game. But whether it appeals to people from the outside, I don't know. We will see, though. We will see. So, anyway, Death Stranding 2, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. I'm guessing Luke doesn't get a review code. Maybe they surprise me. I'm guessing that might be the case. Which, whatever. I'm going to say things are stupid when I feel fit to. And you know what? If they can't handle my viscous flow of concepts about the game, then that's their loss. That's their loss. Either way, it'll be out late June, and so we'll see what happens. Either way, seems interesting enough, but I think the performance of it is going to be really, really interesting. We'll see if Jor's right, because I suspect he might. I suspect he might be. He took my thing. Red flag.